What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mikerock Show. It actually feels good saying that instead of Mike Rock Uncensored, which we tried to change. It didn't get the traction I wanted it to. And at the end of the day, I realized that it's not really about the name or the title. It's more about the content and the people we've got watching. So I want to thank you guys for being here. Sorry that we're a little late. I wish I could have done this stream earlier today. But nonetheless, we are here and we are ready to get started and talk about a few things. But before we do, if you guys haven't already, man, we have our own community that we're trying to grow. It's based on people being able to have open conversations. It's built a lot like Facebook. And if you guys want to join us, you guys can do so over at righteous.com. That's righteous.com. I've also received some messages, and yes, I am starting to receive messages that some people would like to support the show, but aren't necessarily ready to join a community where they have to, add credit cards. They don't feel secure in that regard, or they just don't, they don't trust the site, and it's nothing personal, and I don't take it personally. So if you watch the content and you guys want to buy me a coffee or something to the effect that help support the show. If you look in the link, I know I have one on Facebook, I have one on YouTube, and I might have one on Rumble, but if you click that link, it's for Sleek Bio. It'll give you different options. You can go and look at our community and join if you'd like to. We have a shop. I got a really cool T-shirt that I'm wearing today. Freedom. Let me see. Let me take that. Freedom. I got the Charlie Kirk signature Freedom shirt that I finally got in the mail today. I'm excited about buying my own merchandise. So that's actually really cool. No, it's not authorized or anything by Charlie Kirk, but again, I think it's vital that we promote and support the things that we believe in. So I believe in freedom. I believe in the mission that Charlie Kirk was trying to put out there for us, and I have no problems celebrating his life by wearing this T-shirt. Um, but anyways, so we have the shop, and then also you can buy me a coffee on there, and any kind of extra links that we have for the Mike Rock Show, you can click on that sleek.bio, I believe it is, / Mike Rock, or you can simply go to buymeacoffee.com / Mike Rock. Please believe I am now making my own money. So any kind of proceeds and support that we get will go directly towards supporting the show. At least for now, if things change, I will let you know. I do actually believe in transparency, unlike our government. And then, of course, um, we'll be giving back to the community with an outreach program that I'm trying to work on and things like that. So you guys can check it out on Buy Me a Coffee and both my and righteous.com. I do have a blog section or just the regular feeds and stuff like that where I will updating you on everything that we've got going on. So anyways, I want to talk today about something other than politics. Actually, this one for me is very near and dear to who I am as a father because I've been a single full-time father off and on, for about 20 years. I've got two sons that I've raised since they were 4 and 5. They're 18 months apart. And then I have a daughter who I do share custody with her mom, and she's actually a really, really good mom. And we co-parent to the best of our abilities. We get on each other's nerves a lot because we are on the opposite side of the political spectrum. However, we actually understand that the relationship that we have is way more important than our political beliefs, and we set aside our differences for the sake of our child, and we're doing a really, really good job at it. So I'll take this time right now to give her a shout out and to thank her for not making the situation any more difficult, for wanting better for our child as opposed to giving in to the arguments that we have and the differences in our beliefs. So I appreciate that. But anyways, the reason why I did a video on this and I talked about how I believe fathers, and yeah, there's a little bias because of what I went through, but how fathers should have equal rights when it comes to the custody of their children. And I explained in that video that I 100% agree that it's the woman's body, and if she decides to keep that child, that's her right. I also agreed 100% that um it takes two people to make that baby. But in that argument, I also said that if the man doesn't have the right to choose whether what happens to that child before they're born? Because for whatever reason, maybe they were in a relationship, maybe it was a one-time hookup, regardless of the reason, it did take two of them to make that baby. And even though the woman should have the choice on whether she keeps the baby or not, once you've made the decision to keep that baby, then the man should have equal rights to be a father in that child's life. It's not, and the responses that I got, it was either 100%, I agree, thanks for preaching and things like that, and that's great. But then we also had the other side, and we're going to show you one of the comments from, I believe, a Rosie B on Facebook, who was offended by it and then felt like, and their arguments for why it shouldn't happen had nothing to do with the children themselves. It had to do with their personal experiences, what they've been through, what their intentions were when they decided to have the baby, and maybe because things didn't work out their way, or whatever the case may be, or the man decided to step out because she made him having that relationship with the baby too expensive. The man stepped away, and I will not. So I have to qualify, and I could do it after I tell you, or I can do it now. I would rather do it now so that you understand that I am not on the side of fathers or mothers. I am on the side of the kids. And even for me, when I argued in court, it took me 2 years to fight for custody of my kids. And the whole time that I was fighting for custody of my kids, I was the only one in there saying that I wanted what was best for the kids. There were arguments made about how much money I made and how much money I should pay in child support. But there were no real arguments as to from their side on what was in the best interest of my sons. And I didn't understand because at the end, when all was said and done, the court still gave my sons to their mother. And it was on a technicality, I will say that, because when we separated 2 years prior, I had got permission from the mom to take my kids out to Virginia. I got it. And so I had sold all my belongings and I was going to move out to Virginia with my sons. And the day before that happened, all of a sudden I've got I don't remember if it was the sheriffs or the U.S. Marshals, but they were outside my door and they had basically a court order to take my kids. And then from there I had to start fighting for custody and stuff in court and so, and it was a very traumatic experience for both me and my younger son, Michael, because Michael Jr., because he understood what was going. He was old enough to understand that he was being taken away from his dad, and I was the one raising him since birth. And but my other son, Brandon, he was la di da because he had no clue what was going on, and he had a healthy relationship with both me and his mother, and so it really he was just way too young to understand what was really happening and stuff like that. But it was a very traumatic experience, and I had to change up my entire life again. I sold all my belongings. I still had to go to Virginia because I had nothing else in San Diego, and then I ended up having to fight from Virginia, and it was hard. It was a struggle because I couldn't get a full-time job because I had to go to court. When I finally got my day in court, which meant I couldn't see my kids for 6 days. And I'm not really going into detail of my case because I have a very loving relationship with my mother-in-law, and it didn't start out that way. We were enemies. It was because of um, these court proceedings and things that had transpired in between. But we've both learned that I've done some bad things. My son's mom has done some bad things back in the day, but between me and her, we just didn't have the best understanding of who we were to each other or who we were to our kids, and we have that understanding now. We have a loving relationship, and there's nothing that I wouldn't do for that lady. So in that regard, I'm not going to share all of the details of the case. I will just say that it was hard. It was super hard, but I never quit. I never stopped fighting. And then 6 months after I lost in court, because of what happened, again, not giving out details, their mom ended up just giving me the kids. And so, no matter how I won, I won. And I've been there for my kids since day one. I looked at, for me, I didn't grow up with a father. I didn't use that as an excuse not to be a father in my kid's life. I chose to look at what it did to me, what kind of impact it had on me. And I promised myself that my kids would never have to go through that. So, I'm hoping you can understand why this particular topic is. I have very strong feelings about this. However, just because I have strong feelings about what's going on, I'm still fighting for what I believe is the right thing without with as little bias as humanly possible. Because at the end of the day, I'm not just me fighting for equal rights for fathers isn't saying that fathers should be in control of what happens with that custody. I'm saying that if we're going to be doing what's in the best interest of these kids, they're the ones that deserve to have both parents in their life or the opportunity to have both parents in their life as much as humanly possible. And if we're going to do that, then we need to work. Parents need to work together as parents on behalf of the kids. You don't have to love each other. You don't even have to like each other, but you do have to come together to make better decisions on behalf of the kids because again, you're exactly right. It took two people to make that baby, and once the mother decides to keep that child, she should have to accept the responsibility or the accountability for what she did just as much as the dad did. And if he wants to be a father in that kid's life, then he should be allowed to. It isn't supposed to be about leverage. It isn't supposed to be about trying to force a relationship that's not supposed to exist. It isn't supposed to be about a paycheck. It's simply about giving those kids the best opportunity they have to succeed in life, and they can do a much better job. They have a much better chance at that success if they have both parents there in their lives helping them, helping to raise them. And that was my argument. That was always my argument. And the responses I got, the negative responses I got, and I'm gonna pull this one up now because again, I think that her heart was in the right place. But I also believe just listening to her that she was a little bitter because of her own personal experience, because of for whatever reason the dad chose to step out. She didn't receive any child support growing up. I don't know how much is true, how much is not true. I'm not going to assume that she's lying. And in this particular case, I don't really have to because her arguments had nothing to do with the topic of allowing fathers to have equal rights for their kids. But I'm just gonna, these were the typical arguments that I was having with some of these mothers, not even parents, just mothers. So this person, Clemmy Chaz, says he has a say, condoms, vasectomy. Okay, but why, again, why doesn't that work both ways? She has a say as well. I mean, whatever the woman's equivalent of a condom is, or choosing not to have sex with that individual. But she has as much as I don't, whether this isn't about whether I condone it or not, but she actually has the choice of having an abortion, whether the father agrees with that, with that choice or not. She has that added option. He does not. And so I just, and that's what I said, so does she. She has a say. She has more of a say than he does. So I'm asking for equal responsibility and equal custody. And then I didn't see this. I'm sharing this with you guys for the first time. She added a response. I never got a notification for this, but she's trying to say that man has 365 days fertile. Women 5 days a month fertile. Oh, that's stupid. Man, 0 days of pregnancy, giving birth, risk for his life doing so. Woman, life changing, body changing, risk for her health, life. Man can leave, woman cannot escape maturity. Where is your equality? These are all some of the dumbest arguments that I think anyone could bring up because, yes, it's not that what she's saying isn't true. It's just what does that have to do with equal rights for the father once the woman decides to keep the baby? Maybe she should and again, I'm not even trying to point the finger at the mother. Equal responsibility, equal rights, equal accountability. All of it's equal. Man, if the father's got to accept accountability and responsibility for what's happened between him and the mother, then so does the mother. She has to accept accountability as well. But it just seems like a lot of these women out here, I don't know if they're feminists. It feels like they're feminists, but I'm not gonna. Again, I'm doing my best not to actually throw out the accusations. I can only tell you what it feels based on my experience and my opinions. But these people feel like it's okay to be a feminist when they want to, or when it suits them. But then all of a sudden, I want to be a lady and stuff when it also suits me. So, but To me, this is a really dumb argument because no, uh, my only point here is the minute that the woman decides to keep the baby, the man may not have had a choice on whether she keeps the baby or not. But if he wants to be a father in that child's life, then he should be given the opportunity until he can prove that he's unfit to be a parent in that child's life, or he chooses to step away. And I don't agree with that either. That's when the courts have to step in and do their job. Once she decides to keep the baby and gives him an opportunity to be a full-time father, if he chooses to step away, okay, well, homie, you do have that responsibility. You do have to be accountable for that. But I don't think demanding child support, unless he steps away, is necessarily the answer. Give him a chance to step up and be a father in that kid's life, not because it's going to save him money, but because that's what he wants. Because we put ourselves, I should say, in a position to where we are both about to be parents. You've chosen to keep the child, and so I'm going to accept that responsibility, and I want to be the best. It's life changing for me as well, and I want to be the best possible father for that kid. And there should be consequences for fathers who choose to step out instead of holding themselves accountable and giving that kid the life that they deserve. I don't think there's anything wrong with that statement. But then you got somebody like a Rosie B. And Rosie B is the same thing. It takes two people to make a child, but only one gets pregnant and has to physically deal with the consequences. There is no male equivalent to that. And I I don't think a man will ever experience the pain and joy of going through pregnancy and having a child like a mother can. But again, the argument that you're making, I'll agree with you, but then you try to change the argument so that you can defend so that as a defense for why you don't want to give a father the opportunity to be in that kid's life on an equal basis, and that's you can't do that. And I said, yeah, no, that's not going to work anymore. We aren't challenging whether she can have the baby or not. That is her choice. But to have the baby and then obligate the man to just child support without equal custody, no, that's stupid. You're gonna make this man pay child support and everything else, and you're not gonna give him a chance to raise that child with you as a father. You just want his money, or maybe it was a, and excuse my language, maybe it was one of those keep a nigga babies where you thought that you were gonna be able to have a relationship with this individual for whatever reason by having his child. You can get mad at me all you want to, but we know it happens. Again, I'm not trying to justify the things that men do. I'm just saying we know that that happens. She continued on and, um, "Not my call to make, yours neither. Good luck with that. Have a feeling you'll just make clips about it and not much else." So again, the assumption was made that I'm up here trying to be an internet warrior and that I don't have a personal connection to what it means to be a father, which you guys know by now that that's entirely not true, completely not true. Well, seeing that, and I'm not going to go into the next one because that's exactly what I just said, that I've been a full-time father for 20 years to three kids, and that I think I've done more than just talk about it. But what was interesting is this is where called me a keyboard warrior. No, you've just adjusted to your circumstances. She doesn't think that I fought. When I explained to her that I was a full time father, she thinks that I didn't, for whatever reason, that I didn't actually have to fight for my kids, and I did it. And anybody that was with me during that time frame, or were friends with me, or family in my life, they all know the struggle that I went through. They don't like, man. I'll get into that in a second. I just told them I love assumptions. You weren't there for the 2 years that I had to fight in court. I won't share the details so that you can make even more assumptions, but I argued for what was best for my children. The mom argued for how much money I should pay. Just know that when the dust settled, not only did I get custody, but I actually got certified as a paralegal and have a loving relationship with my mother in law as a result. I've helped a number of fathers and mothers go through their own custody struggles over time. What's funny to me is how you're using typical political strategies to attack. The character of the person instead of the validity of the point being made. Yes, more can and should be done by everyone. And though I'm not one of them, at least keyboard warriors have the balls to speak out. I'm not I don't need to go into all this. I just know that there's at some point, she called me bitter. It I'm not I think she said I was crying or something like that. She said something to the extent that I was a crybaby and that, I was just bitter for whatever happened to me, and I'm like, bitter about what, bitch? Excuse my language. I but bitter about what exactly? I won. I fought the good fight. I won. I was able to be a father in my kid's life, and the only unfortunate thing in that situation was that, my son's mother wasn't more of a mother to them over time. She chose to step out. That was, I could have fought that. I could have argued for child support and all these other things, but why make it harder on my kids than it needed to be? I would rather struggle to give my kids the best life possible than to sit up there and try to make their mom look bad in front of them and tell them stories about all the bad things that she's ever done to try to make myself look like a better man and a better father. But I think that's bitch shit. I think if you just do your job as a parent for your kids, it won't take long for them to see what's really going on, who's really been there for them. You don't need to down talk or belittle another person, belittle the other parent, just to make yourself look better. That to me is 100% bitch shit, period. Um, but just to give you guys some background about why I'm so passionate about this. When I moved to Virginia because I had to, because that was the plan on raising my kids with my mother in Virginia, and that didn't happen. The things that people don't see is not only could I not, I had to find a way to make money that would allow me to make the trips out to San Diego for each and every court date. And then when I finally got to court 6 months after this claim was made, and I was able to argue against it, and it took me 6 months to get back into court for the first time, and I wasn't allowed to see my kids for the entire 6 months that this was going on. And that was a really hard pill for me to swallow, but I was able to find a way. I repaired Xboxes. If you guys know anything about the Xbox 360 and the little red ring thing, I repaired those for people in Virginia, and I made enough money to be able to travel back and forth. And then I was also fortunate enough to live with my mother, whose house was paid for. So, my living expenses was pretty cheap, next to nothing. So I was fortunate in that regard. But the other thing that people don't see is I couldn't afford plane tickets. So I had to take the Greyhound bus 3.5 days to San Diego and either have a court date or see my kids for 2 days and then take a 3.5 day bus ride back. There were a couple of those times during that 2 year time frame where my ankles were so swollen I couldn't walk for a couple days until the swelling went down from just sitting in that bus and doing transfers and stuff, going to see my kids. But I did it anyway because that's because my kids needed me. So when I talk about equal rights for fathers and everything else, I'm done with I wish I wish we lived in a world where more people believed in traditional relationships, that believed in fighting to once you decide to get married, once you decide to be in a relationship with a particular individual, with the love of your life and so forth, that you're also willing to accept the struggles that come with that relationship, not just give up and see that the grass is greener on the other side, and deciding that, you know what, if the man can't give me what I want or vice versa, that I'm going to go get it from somewhere else. I wish we didn't live in that world, but unfortunately we do. I wish we lived in a world where the man could actually be the sole provider and be the protector and the guardian, and the protector and the provider, and that the woman, if she so chose, she could stay home and take care of her kids. Because if you guys think, anybody that believes, man or woman, that being a house parent, house mom, house dad, or whatever, if you think that that's not a full-time job, then you're out of your rabbit ass mind. It is a full-time job. It's probably a harder job than what I would have to do or what someone have to do if they went out into the world and worked for a living to bring the money home and take care of the family. I think it's a harder job. You're dealing, depending on how many kids you have, you're dealing with all those different personalities. You're making sure they go to school, you're feeding everyone, you're making sure the house is clean. I mean, it's not an easy job. It is a rewarding job, but it's not an easy one. And somehow we've gotten to a point to where we as a society believe that that is a dehumanizing experience now. That you can't that you're not a strong independent woman if you choose to be a housewife. Like when did we get to that point? Why? I like I I have so much respect for any parent that not just stays home, but is actually taking care of the house when the other spouse or parent is not at home. And as much as I believe that I wish that that could be most men that men in most cases, because at the end of the day, women are just a lot more nurturing than a lot of fathers. That's just the truth. But we now live in a world where both parents have to go out and work, and they should share those responsibilities, and I believe that for those households. I'm fortunate enough to where, I'm now in a position to where I can fully take care of my kids on my own, but I had to fight for that, and I'm also single. So, I don't get to there is nobody to share those responsibilities with, but it is what it is. My point, though, hasn't changed. I don't understand why women believe that they should have all of the say in how a child is raised. That if the father isn't willing to give up a paycheck, or he isn't willing to have a relationship with the woman for whatever reason, with that woman for whatever reason, that she can use her kids as leverage, and that she can basically keep the kids away from the father in order to try to get what she wants. And if he never gives her what she wants, then it's okay for her to separate her kids from their fathers for their entire life if she has to talk bad about the father when he's not around, to make him look bad, so that when the children do get old enough, they don't even want to have a relationship with their father because of all of the lies that were told. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Absolutely. Are there bad fathers? Yes, there are. That's the reason why I believe that there should be, when I say equal rights, I mean equal rights, period. And I think that there should be consequences for people who don't want to step. If you don't want to step up to be a parent, a father or a mother in your child's life, then yes, there should be consequences. You should be forced to pay child support. You should be I'm not going to say you should be forced to be in that child's life, but you should be forced to do whatever is necessary to give that kid the best chance of success as possible. We know what we wish it would be, but if you can't give them that, then yeah, you should be forced by the courts to do so. Period. But that should be the last option, is what I'm saying. Hey, step up, be a father in that kid's life. Hey, step up, be a mom in that kid's life. Because again, it took both of you to have to make that baby. And if you did it for selfish reasons, then shame on you. If you did it for a paycheck, then shame on you. If you did it hoping to have a relationship with that father and didn't consider whether you're even in a position to raise those kids, then shame on you. Period. No matter who you are. It's just funny to me how when people listen to what I have to say, they want to sit up here and think that I'm only arguing on behalf of men and fathers. I think there's a lot of inequal, but these political agendas and government laws and all this stuff that they're creating that say that they're fighting for what is it, diversity, equity, and inclusion and equality on behalf of protected classes. I think it's all bullshit, all of it, because the more they try to create equality for these other classes, equality, because it's not equality, but the more they try to create equality for these other classes, the more they take away the freedom from other people. Oh, well, they need this, you don't. Case in point, and I'm gonna change the subject just a little bit because I just heard about this NBA player. I think he plays for the Chicago Bulls, who was just kicked off the team, I believe, fired from the NBA because he's a Christian and he felt like he couldn't support the LGBTQ gay pride scenario that they were trying to sell through the NBA. And he just said, "Hey, nothing against the gay community, but that's not something that I support. My faith doesn't allow me to support that." And because he did that, because he chose his faith over this political agenda, he was fired from the NBA. That's not equality. Because we all know you can make all the arguments that you want in the world, but if the same thing was said about people who were straight, or people who were white men specifically, then there would be no repercussions. You're free to say whatever you want as long as you speak out against the right class. You can say whatever you want about the Iranian people. You can say whatever you want about the Muslim communities because we're at war with them. You can say whatever you want and there will be no repercussions. And all of a sudden it's God bless America when it's convenient and everything else. But when you speak out against the protected classes, that's when you're liable to get in trouble, and that's not equality. That's not to me, it's just not an America First agenda because, the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and everything that our founding fathers fought for, um, free speech wasn't meant to protect the speech that we like, it was meant to protect the speech that we don't. You have no problems listening to speech that you agree with. You have a problem listening to the speeches that you hate, the speeches that don't agree with whatever narrative you believe in. But yet, the right to free speech, the right to freedom of expression, is there. I don't know, man. I really want to know what you guys think. I'm trying not to get into the political side, at least for not this segment. But am I asking for too much? Am I saying is my argument for equal rights for a father so bad, or am I missing something? Is my perspective on the matter so misinformed that I need a better understanding for why mothers should always be allowed control over that situation, that custody should always be given to the mother, and that the father is basically will always be in a position to where he has to be able to afford the child in order to have a relationship with them. That's just dumb. I don't know, man. We're living in some very weird days. Oh, I didn't even see that. Rosie B said, "F you." I said, "No." So Rosie B, man, um, she said something, I forgot what it was. But I basically ended it by saying no other option than equal opportunity. I'll accept that. Thank you and take care. And then her last response was F you. It's so funny because when I first got started doing this show, I had no clue what I was doing. I still don't really have that much of a clue, but I speak my mind, I share my opinions, and if you don't like it, I don't care, man. But it took me some time to get to a point to where I can actually read these opinions and read these comments and not get offended by some of the things that people say. It took some time for me to realize that people are just going to be asshats whether you're making sense of a situation or not. There's just asshats out there. So when I read these things, I try not to get offended. I try not to take things too personally. Even if you say something that was meant to be personal, it is what it is. And so I try to end these conversations with respect. Like, hey, we're obviously not going to agree. I don't know why you think continuing with the insults is going to change my mind or change other people's minds. But good luck to you and take care. And I genuinely mean what I say. But it seems like the more people are trying to offend you, and the nicer you are as a result, the more belligerent and evil they become. And I get it. There's a lot of sarcasm out there in the world, and sometimes I am very sarcastic in the things that I say. But when I tell you basically, take care, enjoy, good luck to you in the future, I mean that shit. I'm on the one hand, I'm telling you the conversation is over with, but I wish you the best because I don't care what our political differences are. I wish no ill will on anybody. Despite what you believe, despite how you live, I wish that I only wish the best for everyone. I mean, not necessarily everyone. There's some very evil people out in the world, but I don't think if your heart is in the right place, I don't think your political agenda, no matter how much I disagree with it, I don't believe your political agenda makes you an evil person. Period. Um, and I believe when all is said and done, that we need to focus more on keeping those bonds that we have with the people we care about, and even the people we don't know. We need to focus on bringing more and more people together, as opposed to letting the government and the media tell us who we're allowed to have friends with or not. That's what I'm against more than anything else. I was gonna do a separate show. But I think what I'm gonna do instead, I'm just gonna add it as a topic here because we're pretty much done with this conversation. And I hope that people who are listening, people that are on my friends list on Facebook, I know that they don't comment a lot. I know some of them go out and check it out for a little bit, and then they kind of get away because they're too um I won't say that they're afraid. They just don't want to get caught up in the political nonsense and everything else. But again, we have to talk about these things as regular people, as American citizens who are actually going through the struggle, not the politicians or the celebrities or whoever they are that are making all the money to so that when there's a real impact on the rest of us, they don't even feel it. It doesn't affect them, but we're allowing them to to manipulate our opinions on what's going on because we like Cardi B or we like Nicki Minaj or we like the orange-haired man that's now president. Because of people, we are allowing ourselves to not only make decisions that we may not agree with or may not know enough about, but we're also allowing those people to tell us who to hate and who to lose our relationships with. And to me, that is that is the thing that we need to be fighting against more than anything else. We people need to be coming together more. If I had it my way, I actually believe that the best thing that we could do as a people is to focus on the larger issues, the things that affect us as a country first. Your personal agendas, the little things that don't really matter. No, I don't believe we should be pushing them on our kids or pushing those little things on the rest of us. But if we can learn to stay in our lanes about the little things, that's not meant to be disrespectful. It just means that they got us arguing about shit that does not matter for in regards to the entire country. I don't care. I say it day in and day out. Nobody cares who you sleep with. There are idiots in the world who will make fun of absolutely everything. The answer is not to make laws against those idiots, but to learn how to stand up for ourselves and to, as an old, old something my mom used to say, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard it. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Who cares what they say? Who cares what people think about you? That's what we need to be teaching more than anything else. Teaching people that words don't matter, that you have friends. Make friends who are like-minded and learn to stay in your lane so that others can learn to stay in their lane and we all get along. Hey, inflation is real. Hey, there's not as many jobs out there as they want us to believe. Hey, this person was assassinated, but the information that we're being given doesn't add up. I am, of course, referring to this whole little Charlie Kirk assassination debacle. And I'm going to speak on it because I have a tendency when I hear something before I heard about it about 2 days ago, but I didn't want to speak on it because I didn't know enough about it. All I knew was that all of a sudden, Candace Owens is at the forefront of these headlines. That's what everybody on the right wants to talk about. All of a sudden, they're speaking out against Tucker Carlson again. And whenever that happens, I want to know why. Because whenever they tell me not to listen to a particular individual, and I'm speaking on our government, I'm talking about these people with this Israel First sympathizing movement, I'm talking about all of those people. Whenever they tell me that you should not listen to a person, I'm going to go listen to them because I want to hear what they have to say. I want to know why these people are trying to censor them because that's exactly what it is. And to me, I don't understand why people keep feeding into this bullshit. These people, the extreme right argued when they were losing in the elections, they argued that censorship was wrong. They had truth on their side at the time. At least they believed so. And so whenever you would have an argument with them, they weren't afraid to debate because they had the truth on their side. And no matter what you said, they did their best not to get offended, but to argue the facts because they truly believed in the things that they said. And now you fast forward to what's going on today. And now that people on both the right and the left are seeing things that just aren't adding up, and we're willing to speak out on it because that's what we voted for. That's what you gave us. The opportunity to speak out on the things that we believe in and to question things when we feel that they are wrong. But now that we're doing it and it doesn't favor these MAGA cult members and these right wing extremists and stuff, now that it doesn't favor them, all of a sudden we got to start attacking a person's character again. We have to start censoring everybody and keep them from hearing different versions of the truth. I'm going to say this every single day that I'm on my podcast. Well, not every single day, I'll bore you to death. But this is something you have to understand. The government and the media is literally telling you you are too dumb to take in the information and make up your own mind about what's true, what's not, what you should be fighting for, and what we should be leaving alone. They're literally telling you, don't listen to them, listen to us. Me, people like a Candace Owens, people like a Tucker Carlson, everybody they want you to hate. They want you to hate them because they don't follow this little status quo, or they're not being puppets to the system. They are asking the questions. And whether they're right or wrong, they're not afraid to challenge the narrative, and it's making the other side look bad as a result because there are questions that they just whatever answers that they're giving, oh, there's nothing to see here. Come on. The Trump campaigned on giving us the Epstein files. He gets in the office, they're fighting against giving us the Epstein files. And when the FBI or initially the FBI and the DOJ initially give their reports, what do they say? There's nothing to see here. There is no Epstein list. And the puppets bought it. But then you've got people that knew what was going on or had more information. They're like, this isn't right. There is something going on. We know there's something going on. So why would you lie about it? That was a person like Candace Owens and a person like Tucker Carlson. And they started doing those investigations and they came up with questions that the other side couldn't answer. So what did they do? Let's go ahead and attack the person. Let's discredit that person so that nobody wants to listen to them. That's what the right side is doing. These extreme, the right wing extremists are doing. People like a Laura Loomer, people like a Brandon Tatum, all of these influencers are out there speaking out against people who simply have questions that they cannot answer. Questions about the Charlie Kirk assassination, questions about why we're going to war on behalf of Israel. Like, these are real questions that people deserve answers to. Why are we sending our troops to die for foreign interests? Because, again, in that regard, they can argue it against it all they want to. But, and again, and also, this is my opinion, but I believe Joe Kent was right. Nobody wants to see the Iranian dictatorship or even the China communist regime and stuff in power, but they are. The question for us is, are they an imminent threat to who we are? And in that regard, no, they were not an imminent threat to who we are. It's either that or they were completely lying about some of the things that they were doing. Because as far as I knew, back in January, you went and blew up Iran, and then you said that they no longer had nuclear capabilities to justify why you did what you did. But now, because you want to bomb them again and go to war with them again, oh, we made a mistake. We didn't get rid of all the nuclear capabilities like we originally thought. So we got to go finish the job. They're selling us a bunch of bullshit. They sell us whatever they feel like they have to sell us in order to do whatever they want to do. And I, for one, I tell people all the time, I voted for Trump. And I don't care who the president is, Joe Biden, Bill Clinton, President Trump. I don't want to see them fail as a president, because if they fail as a president, we fail as a country. So in that regard, no, I don't want to see him fail. I think there's some good in what he's doing, protecting our borders and things like that. I may not always agree with the method, but there's a lot of good things going on there. But just because I agree with you in one regard doesn't mean that I don't have the right to disagree with you or feel like something's wrong and question what I feel is wrong in different situations. What's going on with Epstein is wrong. We should not have elite pedophiles in positions of power to control our daily lives and to continue to have that kind of manipulation over the rest of us when we know what they did. You're eating it's not a big deal that they're eating children, that they're abusing children, and that they're in position. That's not a big deal? W In what world is that not a big deal? And why are we allowing them to convince us that it's not? "Oh, there's nothing to see over here." We need to wake up, bro. We really need to wake up. We have nobody. At the end of the day, I believe in holding myself accountable for the things that I've done wrong. We need to hold ourselves accountable. Our government is the way that it is because we haven't cared enough, and we need to start caring more. So this person, Rosie B, I want to thank you for having that conversation. You can say F you all you want to. I'm okay with that. I don't care. But one thing that she did say is, she claimed that I'm nothing more than an internet warrior. However, I'm the one trying to put for me, and I'm not bragging about this. I'm not just on these podcasts talking to you guys. I'm trying to put together an outreach program that I believe in. I built a community called Righteous so that will help bring people together so that we can have real conversations away from all the noise and hopefully know who we're supposed to be voting for, make unified decisions that actually have a positive impact on how our government is ran. I'm the one that's out, like I said, I'm not just I mean, even with just speaking up on these podcasts, there's a lot of people that wouldn't even do that. And I'm trying to encourage you. I'm trying to show people that we need more people to speak up and to speak out. I am not, by any means, I am not an eloquent speaker. If we're in person, I'm probably going to be um what do you call it? Like the life of the crowd or the life of the party or whatever. I am that kind of person, and I'm trying to get better at being that kind of person in front of the camera. But as of right now, I'm not. I know something is wrong, and I'm willing to do something about it. And once we get more, I think the first step is to get more and more people talking about what's wrong. People willing to set aside their biases, then their political agendas, and say, "Hey, we need to fix the country as a whole." Because talking bad about America, and this is this is a message for you progressives out there. How do you have the gall to talk bad about your own country while you're protecting countries like, or dictators, I should say, like Iran? Yes, the Iranian people deserve to be freed. Yes, what's happening with the Palestinians after a certain extent was wrong because we can't forget the fact that they did go and attack Israel. I'm not trying to condone, defend any of that stuff. But what I'm trying to say right now is how do you not want to protect your own country first? Why do you think it's cool to speak out against America when what we should be doing is arguing and debating about solutions to make this country even better? And all you got to do is the homework, and you'll find out that the country you're living in is not as bad as you want it to be. Almost every other country out there has a lot worse problems than we do. The fact that you can even say the dumb shit that comes out of your mouth is a reason to know that you live in a country that's better than most. Anyways, man, I have to get out of here right now. I'm glad you guys are watching. I don't know. I mean, we're only up like, a total of 4, 5, 6 people, but it's 4, 5, 6 more people than we've had in the past. And at some point, people will start engaging. Let's do this, man. I'm gonna start giving out prizes in my community. Don't know exactly what it could be. A T-shirt like this that I just got in the mail. Can you see it? Wow. We'll start giving away merchandise, and then we'll start giving away money when we can afford to do that. But all you got to do, go join the righteous community. If you go, I think you'll automatically become a follower for the Mike Rock Show. And if you do, if you go to that page, you'll see a button at the top that says Ask Mike Rock, and you'll go to a group where you can ask me any questions that you want. And the questions are actually meant for everybody in that group. Anybody can answer those questions. I will do my best to answer all of the questions that you guys ask, and then we'll take the best ones and we'll turn them into a show. Maybe you'll even get invited on the show as a guest. I don't care about inviting celebrities. I don't care about, debating politicians about what's right and wrong. I care about having these interactions with real people. I think it's going to take all of us to make this world a better place because the government has proven over and over again that they're not going to do it. The media doesn't give a shit. It's about whoever has whoever's willing to pay them the most to have an opinion that they can sell to the rest and manipulate the rest of us. We need to bring more people together. And in closing, that's what I'm going to let you guys know. You guys have to stop listening to everything the media tells you. If you're going to get information from the left, then do your best to also get information from the right. Don't let don't let Israel first sympathizers um, try to tell you that you shouldn't listen to a particular individual. Again, you are smart enough to listen to all of the information and to make up your own damn mind about what is right and what is wrong. And if you wanna be a puppet and you don't want then that you wanna be a puppet and you don't wanna listen to the facts, you don't want facts to win because, "Oh, all of a sudden we're in a position in of power, so my feelings can override any facts that are out there," then you go ahead and be you. Just don't be mad when the moderates come together and say, "Yeah, this isn't what we voted for, and it's time to go in a different direction." You can scream all you want to, but we know the real deal. Anyways, I'm Mike Rock, man. I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. If you have, help me to grow, help me to spread the word. Like and follow me on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, on Rumble, anywhere you see the Mike Rock Show. You can help me out by following the show so that more and more people get engaged, more and people start hearing real talk from real people. You guys have a great night. I'm out of here, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.